You've read the books, you've said the affirmations, you meditate, you journal, you've even manifested a few things. And yet, something still feels off. Moments of clarity are often followed by sudden emotional storms. Old patterns keep reappearing in new clothes. You attract people and situations that reflect the exact wounds you thought you had healed. It's as if some invisible force is pulling the strings, dragging you back into pain, fear, or self-sabotage just when you thought you were evolving. That invisible force is not bad karma. It's not the universe testing you. It's not even your lower self. It's your shadow, the parts of you you've exiled, denied, or hidden under the polished surface of your spiritual identity. The emotions you were never allowed to feel. The truths you were never ready to face. They haven't gone away. They've gone underground. And there, in the dark, they've become powerful. In the age of modern spirituality, love and light has become a mantra. We seek higher vibrations, speak of ascension, and achieve states of peace and presence. But few are willing to ask a harder question. What is hiding behind all that light? We've been taught to chase positivity, to manifest abundance, to silence the ego and avoid low vibrations. But in this quest for transcendence, many seekers unknowingly fall into a trap, the trap of bypassing the very wounds they were meant to heal. True spiritual growth isn't about escape, it's about integration. At the heart of this deeper journey lies a mysterious, uncomfortable force that quietly shapes your choices, emotions, relationships, and spiritual identity. It is the shadow, a term introduced by Swiss psychologist Carl Jung to describe the unconscious parts of the self we reject, suppress, or deny. What if your jealousy, your guilt, your anger, your fear are not flaws to fix but fragments of your soul trying to return home? What if your deepest spiritual breakthrough won't come from rising above your pain, but from walking straight into it? This is not the glamorous side of spirituality. It's the shadow side, and yet, it's where the real work begins. You've done the meditations, you've written the affirmations, you've tried to be the light, but the same emotions keep returning. Anger, shame, fear, guilt, old patterns, resurfacing in new disguises. It's as if something within you refuses to be silenced. That something isn't your failure. It's not your karma. It's not even your ego. It's your shadow. And it's been with you all along. The shadow is the part of yourself that you've exiled. The parts you were told were too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too angry, too broken, too loud, too afraid. So you buried them deep inside, beneath your identity, beneath your spirituality. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, gave us the word shadow. He said, the shadow is the person you would rather not be. But here's the truth. That person doesn't disappear just because you pretend they're not there. They live in your reactions, in your triggers, in the way you self-sabotage just when things start going well. Your shadow doesn't destroy you. Ignoring it does. Long before Jung, the ancients knew the shadow. They gave it names: Set, Kali, Hades, Ereshkigal, not as demons to be cast out, but as sacred forces to be understood. In Egyptian mythology, the soul could not ascend without first passing through the underworld. In Hindu traditions, destruction is part of the cycle of rebirth. In Tibetan teachings, the bardo confronts the soul with its own mind after death. True spiritual growth does not come from escaping darkness. It comes from integrating it, from owning what you've disowned, from welcoming what you've pushed away. It means looking at your rage without flinching, holding your grief without judging, and loving the parts of you that were never loved. The shadow shows up every time you say, I'm not like that, that's not me, I would never. And yet, life has a way of circling back, triggering you, revealing you, reminding you of what's still hiding beneath the surface. This is not the path of avoidance. It's the path of return, the path of reclaiming your lost pieces and making yourself whole again. Because the shadow doesn't exist to punish you. It exists to teach you, to show you where you still bleed. and where you've yet to forgive. The shadow is not evil. It's simply unconscious. And what is unconscious will always control you until you bring it into the light. You don't need to destroy your darkness to become spiritual. You need to become conscious within it. To grow spiritually, you must stop striving to be perfect and start learning to be whole. And that wholeness only comes when you turn inward, face your fears, and reclaim the parts of yourself you were told to abandon. In this journey through the shadow, you will lose many illusions. Illusions about who you are, about what healing looks like, about what spirituality really means. But what you gain is real, grounded, and yours. In the next part of this series, we will explore how the shadow reveals itself through everyday triggers, and how those moments of discomfort are not obstacles, but invitations to heal. What part of your shadow are you ready to face? Comment below. You think you're angry at them, at what they said, at what they did. But look closer. You're not really reacting to them. You're reacting to a memory, a wound, a version of yourself you tried to leave behind. This is what a shadow trigger looks like. A sharp reaction to something that touches something old, something hidden, something unhealed. The shadow does not shout. It whispers. But when it's triggered, it takes the wheel. A trigger is not just a reaction. It's a teacher. It says, there's something inside you that still needs your attention. You're not being punished. You're being shown. Here's the hard truth. The people who upset you the most are often mirrors, reflecting your own disowned emotions, traits, or beliefs. It's called projection. What you can't face in yourself, you project onto the world around you. Why do the same kinds of people keep showing up in your life? Why do you keep finding yourself in the same situations, even though you swore you'd changed? Because the shadow doesn't care what you say you want. It responds to what you still haven't faced. Here's how shadow triggers work. You get rejected and rage takes over. You're criticized and shame rushes in. You see someone succeed and envy poisons your thoughts. But these reactions aren't really about the moment. They're echoes from an earlier time. Most of your shadow was formed in childhood, when you were too young to process pain. So you buried it instead. But energy doesn't disappear. It waits. And life brings you the exact people and situations you need to trigger what's buried, so it can finally be healed. You don't have to keep reacting the same way. Every trigger is an opportunity, a portal into self-awareness. The moment you pause, the moment you ask, what is this really about? That's when healing begins. Next time you're triggered, don't suppress it, and don't project it. Sit with it, feel it, ask it questions. What does this emotion remind me of? When was the first time I felt this? Whose voice do I hear beneath this feeling? The answers may shake you, but they will also free you. This is the real work, not escaping emotion, but using it. Triggers are the curriculum of shadow work. They're not there to destroy your peace. They're there to show you where your peace was never real to begin with. You are not weak because you get triggered. You are human. The strength lies in what you do next. When you begin to witness your reactions without identifying with them, you shift from being a prisoner of your past to being the healer of it. Shadow work isn't about fixing yourself. It's about integrating yourself, accepting that your anger, your envy, your fear are not enemies. They are unhealed messengers. And the more you listen, the more you begin to remember who you truly are underneath it all. Your triggers are sacred. They point to the places where love has not yet entered. And when you stop blaming others for what you feel, you begin to reclaim your power. This is how life reveals what you hide, not to punish you, but to awaken you, to bring your unconscious to the surface, to turn your reactions into revelations, and your pain into power. In the next part of this series, we'll go deeper into the practice of shadow work, the tools, techniques, and rituals that help you navigate this sacred inner terrain. If this resonates with you, like, share, and subscribe. What's a recent trigger that taught you something deeper about yourself? Share in the comments. Don't just watch your healing, participate in it. Awareness is the beginning, but awareness alone doesn't heal you. You have to do the work, not once, not for a weekend retreat, but as a lifelong practice of returning to the places within you that are still waiting to be seen. Shadow work is not about fixing what's broken. It's about facing what's been forgotten and creating a sacred space where every emotion is welcome, every truth is honored, and every wound becomes a doorway. The shadow doesn't knock. It shows up through your triggers, through recurring patterns, through discomfort, resistance, and fear. So the first tool in shadow work is attention. Begin with a journal, not to analyze, but to witness, to ask questions no one else has dared to ask you. What emotions do I fear the most? What qualities in others trigger me deeply? Where in my life am I wearing a mask? What parts of me have I been taught to hide? These are not questions to rush. Let the answers come slowly, even painfully. Your truth has waited this long. It can wait a little longer, if it means you'll finally hear it. Next, meet your emotions where they live, not just in your mind, but in your body. The body stores what the mind rejects. When a memory surfaces, when a feeling rises, don't numb it, don't spiritualize it, don't run. Sit with it, breathe into it, ask it what it wants you to know. Ritual is the language of the soul. Use it. Write a letter to the version of you you've been avoiding. Burn it in fire, not to erase the past, but to release your resistance to it. Take a cold plunge to cleanse your nervous system. Dance alone in your room to awaken the parts of you that feel frozen. Create space for emotion to move, because emotions that cannot move turn into pain. Try inner dialogue. Speak aloud to the voice inside that you fear. The part that says, I'm not enough. The part that says, don't trust anyone. The part that still holds rage, grief, shame. Ask it, what are you protecting me from? And listen without judgment. Much of your shadow is your inner child, not just young in age, but young in pain. They need to be seen, not just understood, but held. They don't want enlightenment. They want safety, connection, permission to exist. Create a sacred container, a quiet space where your soul feels safe to unfold. Light a candle with intention. Turn off your phone. Close the door. This is your temple, and you are both the priest and the prayer. Sometimes, the shadow is too heavy to face alone, and that's okay. A trauma-informed therapist, a grounded spiritual guide, a circle of truth-tellers who do not rescue you, but remind you of your strength. These are sacred companions on the path. Don't limit shadow work to one method. Your ancestors practiced it through vision quests, lamentation songs, fasting, storytelling, and prayer. Find what resonates with your soul, not your ego. Shadow work is not a checklist. It's a relationship with yourself, with your past, with the truth beneath the surface. And most importantly, make it a practice, because the shadow will not heal through insight alone. It needs your commitment. You won't do it perfectly. You will resist. You will avoid. But every time you return, you rewrite the story. Each time you face your shadow with love, a part of you returns, and each part brings with it a forgotten strength, an ancient gift buried in pain. This is the alchemy of shadow work. It transforms wounds into wisdom. The tools don't heal you. Your willingness to feel does. And the more you practice, the more you remember. You were never broken, just separated from the parts of you that still believe they are unworthy of love. In the next part, we will explore what happens when you begin to integrate the shadow and the spiritual gifts that await on the other side of your fear. If this helped you, like, comment, and subscribe. Which shadow practice speaks to your soul the most? Share your journey below. Your healing isn't a destination. It's a daily return to truth. Shadow work begins in pain, in the discomfort of truth, in the quiet collapse of illusions. But it doesn't end there. If you stay long enough, if you're brave enough to listen, something beautiful begins to unfold. You begin to grow, not by becoming someone new, but by remembering who you were before the world told you to hide. Shadow integration is not just healing, it is revelation, and it brings with it gifts that cannot be found in the shallows of love and light. You are not just a story of your own life. You are the echo of generations, the living memory of ancestors whose voices whisper beneath your skin. Our shadows don't begin and end with us. They stretch across time, geography, and culture, passed down like invisible wounds, shaping how we think, feel, and respond to the world. Ancestral shadow is the pain and trauma inherited from those who came before you, the fears they buried, the grief they never expressed, the secrets they took to the grave. It lives in your body, in your habits, in your family patterns. Do you wonder why some wounds feel impossible to heal? Why certain fears or behaviors seem inherited rather than learned? Because shadow is generational, and healing requires reaching beyond yourself. Modern science calls it epigenetics. Trauma passed through DNA, influencing your responses without you even knowing. But this isn't a curse. It's an invitation to become a conscious ancestor, to break the cycle, to heal not just for yourself, but for all who came before you, and all who will come after. The collective shadow is the shadow of society, the unhealed wounds of racism, violence, oppression, and denial. It hides in cultural narratives, in media, in the stories we tell ourselves about us and them. When you carry collective shadow, you may feel unexplained anger, anxiety, or despair, especially in moments of social or political turmoil. Healing collective shadow requires both inner work and outer action. You cannot fully heal your own wounds if you deny the wounds of others, and you cannot change the world if you have not changed yourself. Archetypal shadows are universal themes, the stories and roles we unconsciously play, the victim who feels powerless, the saboteur who undermines success, the martyr who sacrifices endlessly, the tyrant who controls through fear. Each archetype holds shadow energy. Recognizing your archetypal patterns is a key to liberation. You don't have to be trapped in these roles. You can step into awareness and choose differently. Shadow work at this level is revolutionary because it connects personal healing to collective liberation, honoring your ancestors, acknowledging collective pain, and integrating archetypes. This is how you become a healer, not just for yourself, but for your family, your community, your culture. The ultimate gift of advanced shadow work is freedom. Freedom from unconscious chains. Freedom to rewrite your lineage. Freedom to walk a path of light grounded in truth. You are not alone on this path. The shadows you face are shared by many, but so too is the light. Healing the deepest shadows awakens your power, your wisdom, your connection to the sacred web of life. This is the legacy you are building, one shadow healed at a time. The work is hard, but it is holy, and you are ready.